Hi, Brooke. Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here. I am a punch needle artist. I also teach and sell the supplies. I would love to just start by diving right in and demonstrating. Let's go over a few basics before I do that. Actually, yeah, we'll switch cameras here. These are the punch needles here. As you can see, it's an amazingly simple tool, and it creates all sorts of textures using yarns. We're gonna jump right in, as I said, and start out. This is what's called the number 10 punch, and the 10 refers to the height of the loop that it will make. The number 10 makes a 1/4 inch high loop. Threading is super simple. I'm using 2 strands of worsted weight yarn, and I'm going right through the eye there. I'm going to pull it out about 10-12 inches, let that go, and then bring the yarn to the back end of the needle. And as I pull it, the yarn just goes right through the slot. We are working on monk's cloth, which is a cotton cloth, and I've got it nice and tight here on what's called a gripper frame. This holds the cloth super tight. You can also use hoops, but you need to be careful about which hoop you are using. I do prefer what's called a no slip hoop. They're actually made for quilting. And if you take it apart, you can see it's got a groove here and a tongue on the other side. And it really holds the monk's cloth super tight. The tighter you can get your cloth, the more level and even your loops will be. We are working on the back of our project. So if I were to draw something on here, you just need to make sure it's backwards, but we'll do a simple circle. You're going to hold your needle just like you would hold a pencil. I'm right-handed, but also the slot needs to be facing in the direction that you're going. The first thing I'm going to do is plunge my needle in. And to make it easier later, I'm going to be just pulling that tail so it's sticking out. Again, this is the front, will be the front of my project. Punching is super simple. You're going to come up just to the tip, glide it forward, and punch it all the way back down to the wooden handle. For these outer 2 rows of my project, or if I'm outlining something, I'm aiming for 6 stitches per inch. And that's basically every other hole in the monk's cloth. You can also use a little gauge. This happens to be an inch square, and you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm not quite at 6 stitches per inch, but if we look at the loop side, you can see that they are touching, and that's the idea of what you want, so that it makes a great outline for what you're filling in. If I were to come back and do another row, or if I was filling in, I'll just go straight ahead here. I'm going to go every 3rd hole, which is about 4 stitches per inch. And as you can see, for filling in, it would go rather quickly. And you can see here the difference in the loops here. You can see that they're a little bit spread apart. But as I come back for the 2nd row, I'm going to alternate those, go right in between those stitches, and that fills it right in. So that's the basics. For me to change color, there are a couple ways to do it. I find this the easiest. You just pull on the straight side of the needle up by the head, and you just give that a little clip. I can do this left-handed, and pull your needle out. And at the end, when all these tails are sandwiched in, you're going to just trim them to the height of the other loops. A lot of people ask about types of yarns that you can use, sort of whatever fits in the needle. This is a traditional rug weight yarn. This happens to be a 3-ply rug yarn. The stitching remains the same. It's either 2 stitches per inch or 4 stitches per inch. There are different needles for different yarns as well. So the one I was using was the regular needle. Let's see where I can put it. There we go. The regular needle, which will take 2 strands of worsted weight up through a heavy rug yarn or a bulky yarn. And the fine needle takes a single strand of worsted weight or 2 strands of fingering weight. The stitch length on the fine needle, though, is every hole and every other row. So it is a little bit more tedious of work, but you can get a lot more detail because you have more stitches per inch. Then we have height differences. The 10 happens to be sort of the lowest of the regular needles. And then we have 2 that are taller. You can see here, the length of the needle just gets taller. There's the 9 and the 8. The 8 makes a 1/2 inch high loop. The 9 makes a 3/8 inch high loop. And there are lots of variations you can do with your different needles. So you can kind of see here the height difference. We go from the very low needles, from the 10, the 9, and the 8, you can kind of see the height difference there. But then you can also play around with all of those yarns that you have in your stash that will just add a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of texture. Even traditional wool strips, the technique is exactly the same, just with the wool strips, you're gonna get a different look to it. This one here was done with all these different shades of yarn blended together to create shading. We have, let me grab this other book here. Again, here's another example of using things here. Traditional wool strips done with the fine needle. You can use what they call a number 3 cut. These are all, I think, number 7 cut. Here we have some other really great textures. There's some baby chenille. This is a pencil roving. This is a Surrey, silk Surrey. This happens to be 4 strands of different colors all put together. So just this page alone, you can see all of the really great different textures you can get.
So Una, while you keep, Una, I'm going to interrupt just for a second. While you keep showing us, I'm going to ask if there's anybody that has any questions for them to go ahead and type it in the chat, and then I can ask you while you keep going.
Great.
Because we have about 4 more minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, so keep showing us your samples.
All right. So here we have some tulle, some ribbon, some little bit of gold thread that I just sort of carried along to give you a little bit of glitz. And here is using the fine short needles, which look a little like this. And you can see again this really great texture you can get with all of that. On the app, I did also include the pattern for this trivet here. So it's downloadable on the app, so you have a pattern all ready to go. I do sell the kits that go with that if you like those yarns.
So Una, I have a question for you in terms of how do you estimate yardage? Do you have some guides around that in terms of for your yarn per project?
Yeah, good question. So the easiest, a lot of it is guessing. A lot of it you can do sample work. You can punch an inch with the yarn that you're using and then multiply that out. A general rule of thumb is if you have a large, say hand size, like a 9-inch circle, that's going to be about 4 ounces of yarn. And that's pretty conservative. I can usually make the yarn go a little farther than that.
And then I also have a question that, do you sell all of the punch needles?
I do sell all of the punch needles, even some secret menu ones.
Oh, that's exciting. And I know from experience that when I see you in person, you not only do these demos, but you actually allow people to make little coasters, which is awesome. But do you also teach as well?
I do teach. I love to teach. I am a certified Oxford instructor. I am also one of 8 advanced instructors for Amy, which means if you want to teach punch needle, I can teach you how to teach. But I teach in guilds, I teach private lessons, I teach group lessons, I've had punching parties. It's one of my favorite things to do is to get people started in punch needle.
I want a punching party.
Yeah.
That sounds fabulous. Right?
I think we should do a combination dyeing and punching.
Great. I think that's a great idea. Can you punch? So I know that you showed the wool strips, which are traditional, but are you able to punch with cotton fabric as well?
Absolutely. I don't have that particular sample, but I have another sample. Well, this is polar fleece.
Cool.
So as I said, sort of anything that goes through the needle. What I do with cotton fabric is I actually snip and tear, and I use it as sort of a ribbon. And that way, I don't think there's any in here. There's the cotton t-shirt yarn.
Oh, cool.
And I've also been experimenting with making this type of yarn here, which is basically a t-shirt yarn, but I'm getting a manufacturer's surplus. And it's actually a organic cotton jersey that I'm dyeing and making into the yarn. So I have a few limited edition on my website of some colors I've been playing with.
That's really exciting.
Not just rugs. I don't know if you, my necklace, this is all done with the fine needle, obviously, and I think it was 2 strands of a fingering weight with that one. Christmas ornaments, not fun.
So cute.
And then I grab these. These are bringing me back to my roots of making shoes. These are an espadrille bottom that I bought on Etsy. And another really...
I'm going to interrupt you because we have to move on to Ava from Seismic Yarns in a second, but I just wanted to reiterate that obviously going to your vendor page on the Lambtown app, it has a link to your web store, and you can find all of this information about any upcoming classes, but also the kits, the needles, and any of the materials that they would need in order to get started.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Una, for being our first. Like, I really appreciate it. And it's so exciting to kick it off with you since you and I have been doing shows together for years. So I really appreciate it. Thank you again. And thank you for participating in this virtual Lambtown.
You're welcome, Brooke.
Thank you. Take care. Have a fabulous day. And I am going, yeah, exactly. Enjoy. You're obviously welcome to stick with us if you'd like to watch Eva from Seismic Yarns, who's coming up next. And then, and I'm going to demote you in just a second as soon as I can find you on the list. Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.